everyone, I'm Kayla.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna.
And this is Talk It Out.
And we're here with our VPBA staff to talk about this season's episodes. We asked you what you think, and now it's time to give you some info.
VPBA is a confidential office on the Rutgers University North campus that focuses on providing prevention education and offering services to students affected by interpersonal violence.
We created Talk It Out to find out what our campus feels about the issues related to the ways violence is viewed, who is affected, and what we can do to stop it.
Check out what our staff has to say about it.
Megan Thee Stallion, the creator of Hot Girl Summer, said it best. It's about women and men being unapologetically them, just having a good time, hyping up their friends, and doing you. The term Hot Girl Summer was meant to include women, men, and everyone in between, to inspire them to be safe, positive, and live their best life. Because of Hot Girl Summer, a term called City Boy Summer was created, and it has the same definition as Hot Girl Summer. Someone on Twitter described City Boy Summer as a male who is living his very best life and chasing the bag at all times. The difference between Hot Girl Summer and City Boy Summer in regards to gender is that it has multiple different lenses and perspective. Throughout social media, it's seen as a competition between men and women. Like expressed in our original Talk It Out video, there are negative perceptions associated with both of these terms, such as people sleeping around and being unsafe. However, you can see the differences in gender being used to belittle hot girls while praising city boys. That goes back to gender norms and what is socially acceptable in our society. At the end of the day, it is irrelevant how you define Hot Girl Summer. As long as you are safe, responsible, and consensual, you deserve to live your best life.
There are a lot of stereotypes that are associated with fraternities and sororities, most of which have been placed out in the media. Some of these movies include American Pie, House Bunny, Neighbors, and Legally Blonde. Some stereotypes these movies portray are that Greeks are partygoers, excessive drinking habits, don't focus on school, and that girls in sororities are promiscuous, while males in fraternities are hyper-masculine and are stereotyped to have non-consensual sex at parties. These stereotypes are portrayed through the unfortunate scenarios that are portrayed in the media, whether it's for entertainment or the news channel only portraying the bad in Greek life and its members. While some members of Greek life may act this way, it's an overwhelming generalization and not at all how Greeks present themselves on many college campuses across the country. However, there are some statistics about Greeks that are unsettling and may add to the stereotypes that surround this population. According to a study conducted by the National Institute of Justice, sorority membership is a risk factor for sexual assault. Fraternity members are 3 times more likely to commit rape than their non-Greek members. Statistics and the portrayal of Greeks in the media may have a lot to do with how people, including members of our campus, view Greek life. Ask any Greek, however, and they will tell you all the positive aspects about being Greek. The values of sisterhood and brotherhood, leadership, philanthropy, and scholarship are among a few of the most important ideals sororities and fraternities were founded upon. As a member of Greek life at your university, you have an important and unique role, and you can serve as a leader in promoting a culture of consent and respect.
Well, to start off with, what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is when a person manipulates someone by making them question their own sanity. It's a form of emotional abuse that causes the victim to question their own memory, their instincts, and their feelings. Maybe one partner denies ever saying something to the other when they have proof. Maybe they tell their partner that everybody else is the liar. An abuser is able to gain more control when their partner questions themselves and their perceptions about a situation. This might seem like a tiny misunderstanding at first, but over time it leads to feelings of confusion, isolation, anxiety, resentment, and that intensifies the emotional abuse. I wouldn't say that gaslighting is normalized for members of a particular generation, but more that it's a common tool used by an abuser. It's a control tactic where the abuser gains control by making their partner so insecure about their own memory that eventually they just stop fighting back. If someone is experiencing this within a relationship, encourage them to document everything. It will help jog their memory if their partner begins to destroy it with these manipulative tactics.
People who have never been abused often wonder why a person wouldn't leave an abusive relationship. They don't understand that leaving can be more complicated than it seems. Leaving is often the most dangerous time for a victim of abuse because abuse is all about power and control. When a victim leaves, they are taking control and threatening the abusive partner's power, which causes the abusive partner to retaliate in very destructive ways. Aside from this danger, there are many reasons why people stay in abusive relationships. A few common ones are fear, believing abuse is normal. For example, an individual may be afraid to feel alone, or individuals in LGBTQ+ relationships may fear that their secret will be revealed if they have not come out about their sexuality. They also may have cultural and religious reasons in which they are assigned traditional gender roles and told they must do anything and everything to stay within the relationship or they will be ashamed of their family. Other reasons include embarrassment, lack of confidence, feeling love for their abusive partner, language barrier and/or immigration status, lack of financial resources, or a disability that makes them reliant on their abusive partner. It is important to always support someone who is in an abusive relationship, even if they are not ready to leave, because you may be their only resource. Here's how you can help to support someone going through an abusive relationship. First, educate yourself. Understanding the dynamics of domestic violence is really important when supporting a person in an abusive relationship. Listen and support their decisions. Listen to them, but let them know that you believe that they are the best person to make the decision that feels right to them at that time. Let them know that you trust them to know what's best for themselves. Encourage small steps and help them find options specific to their needs. Many survivors feel overwhelmed by the idea of leaving for good or taking drastic measures, like calling the police. So try to help them identify small steps that they can take to feel safer and more empowered and move toward leaving the relationship if that is something they want to do. Know their situation the best. Be careful to not push them into a decision you want them to make, and try not to get frustrated when they don't take your advice. Practice self-care. Supporting someone in an abusive relationship can take a mental and emotional toll on you. If you find yourself frustrated with your friend, that can be really important time to take a step back and focus on your own self-care.
Ghosting, in essence, is when one party stops all forms of communication with another party without letting them know. It can be very manipulative as both parties are not fully aware of the intentions of their interaction together. In a recent study conducted, 25% of participants claimed that they had been ghosted by a previous partner, and about 20% indicated that they had ghosted somebody else. Despite how common ghosting is, the emotional effects can be devastating. It silences you and prevents you from expressing your emotions and being heard, which is important for maintaining your self-esteem. People who have been ghosted express feeling disrespected, used, and disposable. Many people will also feel to blame and question themselves. If one partner in a relationship or a friendship is questioning whether they still want to be a part of it, communication is always key.
When navigating this issue, it's important to be mindful of some behavioral red flags to determine if your friend is isolating themselves. Some signs may be subtle and difficult to identify, like noticing that your friend is checking in with their partner more frequently. Maybe they have to ask permission to go out, or maybe they take time away from their plans to be with their partner. Or are you noticing a decrease in your friend's activity participation? Do they seem to enjoy activities less now that they're with this partner? Do they seem to focus their attention and conversation around their partner? Or do you rarely see them unless they're with this person? What is the friend's demeanor when the partner's around? Do they even appear fearful of saying the wrong thing? Do they want to please them? If so, it may be more than just prioritizing their partner. Another tactic that can lead to isolation is financial abuse. Is your friend working the same job they were when they started the relationship? What does their financial situation look like? Who pays the bills? Oftentimes, in unhealthy relationships, the abuser encourages their partner to quit their job or work less, making them financially dependent on the abuser. The more isolated someone becomes, the less inclined they feel to ask for support. Maybe they believe it's not that bad or that no one will understand, and there's a lot of shame and embarrassment. It's natural to prioritize a partner in the early stages of a relationship, but there should never be fear behind someone's actions. If you suspect that's the case, let your friend know you are there to talk, even if they pull away. When they do finally reach out, make sure you're there for support.
A variant of the term cancel culture describes a form of boycott in which the called out person is also thrust out of social or professional circles, either on social media or the real world, or both. They are said to be canceled. A pro to cancel culture is that we hold people accountable and use our privilege to create a safe space for marginalized communities. If someone, whether it's a celebrity or a friend, who has done something illegal or offensive, it is not wrong to take a stand and cut that person off. When Twitter has conversations on canceling abusers like R. Kelly or Kodak Black, society tends to brush it off and many abusers tend to have thriving careers. This creates a conversation about how survivors are not believed and abusers are not held accountable. People assume that if you call out people and accuse their actions, that it will ruin their careers. It is important to note that cancellation is not personal. It is about holding disrespectful and abusive opinions accountable. It can be very hard for survivors if they see their loved ones and friends supporting someone who has victimized others or share views that target members of a marginalized community.
I feel as though in order to answer how one feels about cuffing season, we first have to understand what exactly cuffing season is. So essentially, cuffing season is a time period between the fall and the winter where people enter in relationships, and they do this for the sole purpose because it's cold and they want someone to warm them, and it's just more convenient for them to be in a relationship during these colder months. How do I personally feel about it? I feel like people are pressured to enter into relationships during this season because they see everyone else around them in relationships, and this can cause anxiety for people who are single during this time because everyone else is just in a relationship. It creates a sense of a false intimacy because it's only a relationship for a season. When the weather warms, there's no telling if this relationship will last, which in itself can create other anxieties within the relationship itself because the whole time you're just asking yourself and wondering, will this work out once the season is over? And it kind of provides an excuse for people who are not usually relationship people or don't like to commit to enter and leave relationships whenever they want to. As far as being lonely, being indoors and it's cold outside, so no one wants to really go outside. So you're just sitting there watching movies. It's nice to have someone there with you. So that can cause people to be lonely. I do believe that social media has one of the biggest effects on the whole concept of cuffing season, just because the whole term was coined off of social media and it started as a joke, and it just sort of kind of evolved into something that people actually feed into, and then along with the term there are hashtags, cuffing season, hashtag relationship goals. So it puts pressure on people to get into relationships so they can fit in with what they're seeing around them. On top of that, even if they are in relationships or participating in cuffing season, it adds additional pressure because if they see relationship goals, they're gonna try to live up to what they see on social media, which is honestly unrealistic. Furthermore, on how social media has an effect, in the first 10 days of October alone, there were over 60,000 references to cuffing season on social media. The most prominent emotion expressed was sadness. And the reason that people said that they were sad was because they feel like many people don't find that they'll find a partner to partake in cuffing season with.
A Finsta is a private account apart from the main Instagram account of an individual where they can display their most authentic selves through rants and rare images. Finstas can be healing and also toxic depending on how they're used by the individual. One way that it can be healing is that it allows for freedom of self-expression without the pressures of perfection. Creating a community for ourselves where we feel safe, seen, heard, understood, and accepted plays heavily on the development of self-confidence, esteem, worth, and belonging, says Brighton-based accredited counselor Alex McFarlane. On the other hand, it can be toxic because an individual feels a need to create a separate account to showcase their raw selves, which contributes to the unattainable high standards of social media. It can contribute to the insecurities of the individuals with these accounts by assuring them that their real selves are not good enough for the general public. And thus, the fake Instagram is much more real than the Rinsta.
Witnessing domestic violence can lead to an array of developmental negative effects. These children are at greater risk for behaviors such as anxiety and depression, and for other externalized behaviors such as fighting, bullying, lying, or cheating. They also have more disobedient at-home attitudes and at school. They are more likely to have social confidence problems such as poor school performance and difficulties in relationships with others. The psychological aftermath of exposure to domestic violence can include fear of harm or abandonment, excessive worry, sadness, guilt, the inability to experience empathy, low frustration tolerance, emotional distancing, poor judgment, shame, and the fear about the future. In adulthood, I feel like children who witness domestic violence would have more trouble sustaining healthy relationships because all they were taught was abuse, therefore they go into relationships thinking that that's what love looks like. These children also have a more high chance of suffering as adults from addiction and other health problems, and they also are likely to become victims or perpetrators of violence.